This video is in response to the second most frequent question we're asked. Why Albania? We already done a video on why we chose the city of Shkodër, since that's the most common question we get. I'll also be touching on some items from the con side of the ledger, for balance. Let's get a few details out of the way for anyone watching who's unfamiliar with Albania. Albania is here, in southeastern Europe, on the Balkan Peninsula, between the Adriatic and Black Seas. Bordering countries are Greece, North Macedonia, Kosovo, and Montenegro. It is a beautiful and geographically diverse country with impressive castles, long coastlines, and a unique cultural history. Muslims and Christians coexist in harmony nationwide. So, what did we look for during our research? Number one, the single largest contributing factor in our final decision was, what is the visa situation? Let's go over the countries that Albania was up against toward the end of our search. Costa Rica and Panama were initially our top choices. They both offer a 6-month visa for Americans, so we could have moved back and forth between them until we figured out what our long-term plans were. They're right next to each other. They're in a lovely part of the world with terrific weather and wonderful people. They're expat-friendly and somewhat close to home. On the con side, the cost of living has been rising there in recent years. Also high on the list was Southeast Asia, specifically Malaysia and Vietnam, because they'd both let us stay for 90 days, whereas Cambodia and Indonesia only allow 30. Thailand is in the middle at 60 days. We hung on to this idea for so long because while getting there is expensive, the cost of living is very affordable. In the end, what tipped it was wanting the option to stay in a place long enough to get our feet planted, while also being prepared to exit stage left if things weren't to our liking. 90-day stays are more of a slow travel concept, which may be in the cards for us down the road. But for this move, we wanted to stay longer, or to at least have the option. Enter Albania, which offers American passport holders a full year upon entry with no need to apply for a special visa. All you have to do is show up, and you can stay for 365 days. If at any point you leave for 90 consecutive days, the clock resets, and when you return to Albania, you've got another year. If you stay for the full year, then you must leave for at least 90 days before you can return. You cannot accumulate days out of the country over time. Case in point, you cannot take 3 separate 1-month vacations over the course of a year and have that satisfy the 90-day requirement. This is a very generous arrangement and is also indicative of the way Albanians in general feel about the U.S. We intend to use this annual sojourn to continue exploring the world. As a side note, the country of Georgia, over in the Caucasus, offers the same deal to Americans. This is one of the reasons we won't be talking in much detail about residency. We may cover it in broad strokes at some point, but since we're not going for residency, it isn't something we can share specific experience with. Now, you may be asking, but Kevin, what about Portugal or Spain or France or Belize or insert country name here? We spent over a year sifting through dozens of countries to end up with the list I just shared with you. Trust me, Wendy was very hot and bothered for Italy. She's been, and it holds a special place in her heart for several reasons. We both love the idea of New Zealand, and I am especially enamored with Dominica. If you've looked into any of these places, you already know that they're quite expensive. New Zealand has their Active Investor Plus visa, which costs 15 million New Zealand dollars, which is equal to 9 million US. Dominica offers a citizenship by investment program for 250,000 US dollars plus numerous associated fees. Most of Western Europe is similarly expensive and or difficult to stay long term. If you're in that tax bracket and want to move there, have at it. The world is a big place and there's something for everyone. If you're thinking of coming here, our first advice, regardless of what country you're from, is to check with your own government's official website as well as Albania's. You should also probably visit the websites of the embassies to both countries. In our case, knowing that we could stay for a solid year moved Albania high on the list pretty early in the process. Second item on the criteria list: housing. If you've been with us for a while, you know we came here from Santa Cruz, California, just named the least affordable housing market in the country for the third straight year. What this means in Santa Cruz, broadly speaking, is that many people who grew up there, like me, or who work there, have been priced out. There's a lot that factors into this. If you'd like to hear more about it, let us know in the comments and we'll make a video. For rent, we pay 600 euros per month, which is perfectly in line with similar newly renovated 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartments in Škoder. Literally everything here is brand new, from the TV to the appliances and the bed linens to the cookware. We're also in a desirable neighborhood with close proximity to everything that we need. And our landlords are fantastic. And unlike home, there's no housing shortage here. Plus, the housing stock in Albania is being improved by leaps and bounds, including a significant amount of new construction. Next on our list is affordability. Albania is widely considered one of the most affordable countries in Europe. Now, to be clear, affordability does not refer to the cost of housing. It is assessed by comparing the cost of a good or service against available income and resources. A key aspect is ensuring that purchasing something doesn't prevent one from affording necessities like food, shelter, clothing, and healthcare. For a deeper dive into what daily purchases cost, you can check out our Newcomer's Guide to Food Shopping in Škoder by clicking up there. Up there, up there. There's also a link in the description. Worth mentioning also is entertainment. In an effort to save money for traveling, one method we used for years prior to the move was to cut out entertainment expenses almost entirely. So it has been really nice to be able to explore some of the wonderful restaurants here in town without killing our budget. Next criterion: safety. On the annual Global Peace Index published by the Institute for Economics and Peace, Albania ranks 42nd out of 163 countries with a rating of 1.8. By comparison, the United States rating is 2.6 for a ranking of 132nd. In our research, we compared our candidate countries to one another, though, not to the U.S., because they all ranked better than the U.S. On to walkability. Most cities in Albania are easy to get around on foot. Keep in mind that during the communist era, which only ended in 1991, private car ownership was forbidden. The only cars were for party officials. So in 1995, there were only about 107,000 cars registered in the entire country. Now, as of last year, that number has exploded to over 915,000, while most of the infrastructure hasn't changed very much. a large proportion of the registered vehicles are now scooters, mopeds, and motorcycles. A very popular mode of transportation, especially here in Shkodër, is the bicycle. We have found that most drivers in and around Shkodër are competent and tend to pay attention behind the wheel and will stop for pedestrians. As with anywhere, complacency is the enemy, so you should never take anything for granted and keep your head on a swivel. Delivery drivers aboard scooters often drive on the wrong side of the road in our neighborhood, and everyone just rolls with it, including the police. We've heard that in larger cities, especially Tirana, that the drivers are less trustworthy and more aggressive. We'll report on that once we've explored more. We're planning on experiencing the whole country, by the way. So while my information is a bit Shkodër heavy at the moment, this is an ongoing exploration, and we'll report it all here as time goes by. We're almost at the 4-month mark, and so far we don't miss having a car, especially the ongoing expenses of maintenance, insurance, and registration. Even more so if you have a car loan to pay off. I'd say the biggest consideration we've noticed is that while shopping, you need to kind of pay attention to what you're putting in your basket and make sure you'll be able to carry it home. Next is healthcare. Albania itself is more known for dentistry than regular healthcare. There's quite a bit of dental tourism here. So while the healthcare isn't rated the highest in Europe, it is affordable and obtainable. If you have specific medical conditions or concerns, there are numerous resources to help you find the answers you're looking for. Be wary of expat groups and forums like Reddit and Quora. While there are many well-meaning people online, a lot of them offer purely anecdotal information that won't apply to you and could be misleading. And like everywhere on the internet, there are bad actors who just like to stir the pot and make things worse for everyone. We recommend that you contact actual medical professionals and ask them for recommendations and resources specific to your situation. We will both be getting health screenings very soon, as well as dental checkups, and we'll post about those experiences. So make sure to subscribe if that's information you're interested in. Weather and climate. Albania is considered one of the sunniest countries in Europe and is one of the most climatically diverse countries in the world relative to its size. Covering less than 18,000 square miles, it contains 9 climate types. The complex terrain is what creates this extreme variability, making Albania a microcosm of the European and Eurasian systems. So depending on where in Albania you end up, your weather might be significantly different than what we experience in Shkodër. Here, the seasons are not extreme. It's a mix of Mediterranean and humid subtropical, quite similar to Santa Cruz in many ways, with hot, dry summers and mild, wet winters. Okay, number, 7 is beauty. As I noted in the Why Shkodër video, we left one of the most beautiful, sought-after locations in North America, so we've got high standards in that regard. And Albania is an unspoiled, multifaceted gem. From the Albanian Alps, which feed the many eye-catching lakes and rivers, to the Albanian Riviera in the south, and nearly 300 miles of Adriatic coastline. Albania is a story that dates to before the Common Era. Centuries of empires, of suffering through fascist occupation and homegrown communism. On to the present-day struggle of catching up to the 21st century after decades of isolation, and the welcome change that is liberal democracy. And this story can be witnessed every day through the landscape, the infrastructure, the language, and the customs. The country is home to 4 UNESCO World Heritage Sites and features the aforementioned castles, ancient ruins, and remnants of communism like the more than 750,000 bunkers built by Enver Hoxha over about 20 years. The influence of Italian culture can be seen throughout Albania too, adding an additional layer of cultural depth. The Ottomans occupied Albania for nearly 400 years, so there's a significant influence from that era as well. Albania is not yet overrun with tourists and expat communities, although it is very expat-friendly and America-friendly. It is our fervent hope that we're coming into a sea change on the world stage, where people begin treating where they go on holiday with some respect. It should go without saying that this extends to anywhere you consider you making your new home. This is a bit of an aside, or call it bonus content, but it's based on a comment that was left on one of our videos. The person asked, "Isn't Albania a third world country?" Now, I realize that for most of us, the third world is thought to be a reference to developing countries or countries with high rates of poverty. But it's an outdated and misused term. You see, the term was coined during the Cold War, when there were two main power blocks in the world: the Western capitalist bloc, basically the US and Western Europe, and the Soviet communist bloc, which included countries like China and Cuba. At the same time, there were all these newly independent nations in Asia and Africa, which did not fit into either of the two major power blocks. So the capitalist bloc became the first world, and the communist powers the second world. The third world, very simply, referred to the rest of the countries as a way of emphasizing their unique position outside of the Cold War. That's it. Nothing to do with wealth or poverty or infrastructure or clean water. So when communism collapsed and the USSR disbanded, the second world ceased to exist. So the terms no longer meant anything. But for some reason, third world has hung on as a derogatory way to refer to a country seen as less than. Just to clarify, back then, Albania would have been part of the second world. The World Bank now classifies Albania as an upper middle economy, which is forecast to grow by 3.4% this year. Private consumption, tourism, and the construction sector are the main growth engines. Albania's desire to join the EU is a key factor in its progress and economic development. You'll hear people say that you can't drink the water in Albania. As a matter of fact, someone posted identical comments on two of our videos making exactly that claim in, frankly, a pretty snotty tone. As someone who spent 20 plus years in residential construction, let me assure you that the freshwater and wastewater systems in your home are distinctly separate. It is not physically possible, as this commenter suggests, to have toilet water coming from the shower. One aspect of the developing nature of Albania is that different regions are at different stages of development. Right now, we can only speak to Shkodër, but I can unequivocally tell you that the drinking water here is not polluted. It is also not sourced from the lake or the rivers, but from underground aquifers. There are public drinking fountains throughout the city center. I don't think they'd be operating those during the height of tourist season if people were going to get sick. Regarding tap water, the only concern I can think of would be if you're in an older building with lead pipes or other potential contaminants. The water itself is fine. We've been in 2 apartments here in this same building since we arrived, and we've been drinking the tap water the entire time. One reason why relates to the cons list for Albania. Recycling is basically non-existent. So if you're drinking nothing but bottled water, every one of those plastic bottles is going to the landfill, or worse, into the environment. So recycling is one of the processes still in the development stages in this developing country. As of 2021, there were at least 2 wastewater treatment plants in operation in Shkodër County, with at least one more just opened in April over in Shiroka. Still, some wastewater is released into one of the rivers below the lake, which obviously is not ideal. But it is done to avoid polluting the lake, which isn't nothing. As I record this, there is a €15 million project underway focused on water and wastewater infrastructure in Shkodër. It's scheduled to be completed at the end of 2026, and there are similar projects underway throughout the country. If you're concerned about the water, testing kits are available on You by Albania that test for iron, copper, lead, coliform bacteria, nitrates, nitrites, chlorine, pH, and hardness. They sell for 5,315 lek, which is about $64. So let's see. Stray dogs and cats are a problem. There's no Amazon delivery, and postal service is, let's just say, unconventional compared to what we're used to. The water's drinkable in some places and not others. Walmart and the like are not a thing here, meaning big box stores haven't yet killed the mom and pop shops like in the States. So you might have to do a bit of legwork to find some of the stuff you're looking to buy, but you'll also be supporting local merchants rather than a massive corporation. Also of note, Albanian is a very difficult language for English speakers to learn. Tipping culture isn't much of a thing here. It's done and it's appreciated, but not at absurd levels like in the States, because servers are paid normal wages here. We always tip at least 10%, and we do it in cash whenever possible to ensure that it goes to the server. As a country, Albania is a bit conservative when it comes to social issues like LGBTQ. Same-sex sexual activity has been legal in Albania since 1995, and anti-discrimination laws, including those related to sexual orientation, have been in place since 2010. However, same-sex marriage is not legal, and cultural attitudes can be conservative, especially among older generations. As with most places, the younger generations and the larger cities are fostering positive change. The main advice we've seen for LGBTQ visitors is to be respectful of cultural norms and avoid public displays of affection. For the record, PDAs aren't really a thing for straight people here either. By the time this video is published, we will have hit the 4-month mark since our arrival in Albania. I mean, it's been a wild adventure so far, and one that won't be ending anytime soon. Our months of research has mostly paid off. See, a big reason we started this channel is to spread the message that you don't have to be wealthy to travel or have experiences you've dreamt about. That a lot can be accomplished with discipline and planning. Recently, a commenter criticized us for not visiting every city or region we had considered moving to. They seemed of the opinion that it was irresponsible and told us that we've lucked out for now since things have mostly gone to plan, which made me think of a favorite quote regarding planning and luck. The harder I work, the luckier I get. The plain truth is we couldn't afford to make one exploratory trip, let alone several. So we worked our butts off, sweating the details and crunching the numbers to find a place that felt like a good match. It's an all roads lead to Rome thing. Just because there's one way to do something doesn't mean that's the only way. Get creative and develop your own approach. Where there's a will, there's a way. But as with anything in life, all of the preparation in the world will not shield you from unexpected surprises, good and bad. Let's face it, there's nothing that compares to actual experience. Eventually, you just have to take the leap. We have faced challenges in this adventure, as you can see in our Comedy of Errors video, and have already been blessed with valuable, genuine friendships. We're going to continue to explore this beautiful country that we're calling home, at least for now. We will take the good with the bad and everything this land and its people have to throw at us. We are truly grateful to the people of Albania, Shkodër in particular, for their warmth and generosity, and for welcoming we too occasionally stumbling, bumbling foreigners into their country with open arms. The next installment in this series will be Why We Left the U.S. Make sure you're subscribed to get notified when we post new stuff. Thanks as always for watching. See you in the next one.